We have already seen Impossible 3DS ports, Impossible PS Vita ports, and today it's finally time for PSP to shine bright as diamond with Impossible ports too. We have some official ports, some homebrew ports, and much more. Let's get fire cracking! PSP will always be a god of handhelds, at least for me, because it delivered a console quality gaming to my life, which I will be forever thankful for. I'm sure this holds true for plenty of you too. I have also noticed plenty people still love to play PSP games even at the end of 2024. Nowadays, we can enhance our experience playing it upscaled on PPSSPP or playing it on the Vita via Adrenaline, but I still love to go back to where it all started, to one and the only OG PSP experience. The design is flawless, portable and pocketable, controls too, unless you wanna play first-person shooter, LCD screen with 480 by 272 resolution is feeling kinda nostalgic, and what's more, it has a humongous library of mind-blowing games, exactly like Burnout Dominator. When I first played it, the graphics, the smooth frame rate and the fact that it was also released for PS2 truly blew my mind. This is the only Burnout game not developed by Criterion and not including a crash mode. What a shame. Criterion at that time was busy working on Burnout Paradise, so they didn't have time. In spite of that, the gameplay is rock solid. There is also 60 FPS cheats instead of default 30 available, but I believe this is only supported with emulator, cause even overclocked PSP is not strong enough to push consistent 60. If you are a fan of more classical Burnout, developed directly by Criterion, there is also Burnout Legends available for PSP. It features many tracks and gameplay modes from the first 3 PS2 Burnout titles. Luckily Crash mode is included too. Technically this is not a PS2 port. Is it impossible though? Absolutely. I have seen people are also complaining about flat trees and whatnot, but I would only complain if there would be shit frame rate, shit gameplay or glitches or crashes. But none of that is here, so you should try it out if you haven't already. Second is impressively impossible homebrew port of Quake 3 Arena. This is a direct source port, not some kind of recreation, but that also means it is pushing the PSP hardware to its absolute limits. Here I found some build with small map and simple god mode enabler, and as long as I haven't created game with 6 bots, it was actually kinda playable. Not sure if I would recommend it to you, maybe only if you would wanna push your PSP to its absolute limits. Third or fourth is Tekken Dark Resurrection. This is pretty much an upgraded Tekken 5 from PS2 with several new stages, new user interface, with more characters and character customization options, with plenty new moves and with plenty more new features. It is an update for a game, but many people consider it a different game. There is also an PS3 port of this game, but it's very stripped down compared to PSP or even to PS2 version. Tekken Dark Resurrection is a super graphically impressive PSP game that runs at silky smooth 60 FPS. It also received plenty awards, like Best PSP Fighting Game of 2006 and Best Graphics Technology on PSP in 2006. There is also Tekken 6, but I'm saving it for next video. Now let's talk about Zash 3D, also known as open source Half-Life. This is a full-fledged Half-Life game, not that recreation that is circling around with only first few rooms, but a real deal. And I also believe this is the most impossible port on this list. This title unfortunately comes with some drawbacks. As per usual, loadings are abysmal, and when there are too many enemies on the screen, it is under 10 FPS slideshow instead of a gameplay. That doesn't take anything from its incredibility, but it might make it just a proof of concept. Port of Hexen 2, on the other hand, is not a proof of concept in the slightest. It is a highly enjoyable piece of homebrew, it is a first-person shooter, so the controls are not the best, but it's an old first-person shooter, so you don't need to look up and down as often. It is using modified Quake engine and it looks really good. Its predecessors, Hexen and Heretic, have been also ported, so if you will be installing Hexen 2, make sure to install them as well. And how you gonna install them, you may ask? You might wanna Google this information, compañero, cause we wanna avoid every possible law enforcement issue in this video. I've been already talking about Impossible PS3 PSP port of Dante's Inferno, but did you know there are more PS3 PSP ports? For example, Split Second. This is another PS3 masterpiece that has been ported in its full glory. Correct me if I'm wrong, I know you love to correct me, and I love to find out new information. I see it as a bit of a blurry PS3 version with revamped physics and subtle changes to track design and even statistics. I'm pretty sure PS3 version is much better, but you know what? You cannot play it in handheld mode, right? And exactly because of that I never played it, cause I'm a handheld guy. Now, huge thanks to all of my channel members and Patreons. Your support is vital for this channel, I just want you to know that. You voted for PSP video, so here it is. With all these impressive PSP ports, I also wanted to make a port. But I'm not able to make a game port, so I made a song port, and it goes something like this.
When I was just a kid, I haven't got no money. I couldn't buy my favorite console. My mom came to me and she said, don't you worry, bring me good marks in school. I went to the school and I was studying hard, every day and every single minute. At the end of the school year I just came to my room. There was big fat PSP.
Next is an impossible port of N64 emulator, Deadalus X64. N64 emulation proves and solidifies the greatness of hacked PSP, cause this really shouldn't be possible, but as you can see, where there is a will, there is always a way. Recently I was looking at N64 3DS emulation and I gotta tell you, it is not far from that kind of performance. And that's new 3DS, which is next generation, much more powerful handheld. Truly impressive if you ask me. You can check compatibility list to have better idea what games are and are not playable, but for example F-Zero X, Mario Kart 64 or Kirby 64 are running great. Just the audio is a bit messed up and you can't really fix it. Another mind-blowing emulator is PSP KVM that can run Java 2 micro edition games. These are the very old mobile games, out of which there are so many great ones. For a while I wanna make a top 10 list. I'm definitely gonna do it cause it deserves a separate video. This emulator is not perfect, many games run slow, with broken audio, but that doesn't take anything from its incredibility yet again, cause even after 15 years since it was released, this is the best way, in quotation marks, to play Java games on a PS Vita, with PSP emulator in an Adrenaline. This is not a great way, so usually I'm just getting my fix on a real hardware, and I'm super happy about it. While we are at emulation, there is also a Dreamcast emulator for PSP called Null DC. As you may have expected, playable Dreamcast on PSP is kinda far-fetched, so this is more like a proof of concept. In spite of that, I was able to launch a game and even play it. It was flickering and it was slow, but it didn't crash, and it felt great to emulate the real Dreamcast on my PSP. Sega Saturn on PSP runs a bit better with Yabause. I wasn't able to launch Panzer Dragoon successfully, therefore I'm borrowing footage from PSP Mav video. He has covered quite a few of these emulators and homebrew games, you might wanna check him out on his channel. DOS emulation on the PSP could be also considered impossible. I was able to run old school Prince of Persia. I've seen people were also able to emulate Windows 95, but you can just about move your mouse cursor around the screen. Let's get back to realm of actually something playable, like the port of Celeste. There is no Pico 8 emulator on the PSP due to it being too demanding. Weird, I always thought Sega Saturn emulation is the most demanding. But some smart guy was able to port full Celeste for us to enjoy, and this way I would like to dedicate huge thanks, cause I do really appreciate this great game being playable on my PSP. Direct port of Shadow Warrior cannot be omitted either. Legendary first-person shooter DOS game running natively on legendary handheld. Sign me in. Playability is not bad and frame rate neither. Definitely must install alongside Hexen and Minecraft, our next impossible contender. There are plenty ways how to have a Minecraft experience on the PSP, Lamecraft, Crosscraft Classic. I'm using this Minecraft PSP edition that I've downloaded from Internet Archive. It's from 12th of November 2023 and it has 154 megabytes in size. I don't think this is like a direct port, but rather a recreation, but it's quite faithful. It runs okay, you can build, you can destroy, you can collect, you can explore, you can do a lot in here. Super Mario 64, on the other hand, is direct native port and it is a pleasure to play it. I wish more decompiled N64 games can be ported this way to PSP, that would be absolute blast. I'm aware there are many more work in progress decompilations going on right now, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Mario Kart 64 Perfect Dark, which makes the future of its possible ports to PSP, Vita and other platforms too quite bright. Big 2 thumbs up for this wholesome initiative. Quake 2, ported by Crowbar, is also essential and must install for every modded PSP. This is the same guy that has also ported Quake 3 Arena. There are plenty more PSP homebrew recreations, not direct ports, like Cuphead with only one boss, or Plants vs Zombies, or Counter-Strike, which is not bad, but I wasn't even able to plant the bomb, so I've just enjoyed the feeling of running around the Dust 2 and killing my own team. These are, in my opinion, not really as good, they are more like for a show-off or for a flex. So the last impossible port that I want to talk about is the official game, Crush Mind Over Mutants. It might not be exactly impossible, but I want to include it on this list anyway, cause I've seen plenty people do not recommend this game. They say it is terrible and not worth playing. But if you are a hardcore Crush fan, just like myself, it is certainly worth to at least try it out. Graphics are nice, frame rate is not bad, some gameplay can be a bit tedious cause you cannot really control the camera angle, not sure why they have decided to do it like this, but some segments are a bit more enjoyable. And cause of that I say try it out! And you can also try out Crash of Titans. This is like its predecessor with very similar graphics and gameplay. It is more like an open world 3D beat 'em up platformer or something along those lines. If you've enjoyed this video and you wanna see more PSP videos, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, join if you feel extra generous. Thanks to you for watching, thanks to members and Patreons for their support. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace! Oh yeah.